All right, so we have made a new project called AR Portal. Mine says AR Portal class because I got a million different versions of my preps. And we are going to add components, add packages from the package manager. Search AR. No results. Give me a break. There they are. Yeah.
Search again.
Search again. And has my Xcode finished updating yet? If you don't have an Android, you don't need to upload AR Core. I'm going to do both in case I can't even get it on my iPad because of the.
So I need to download the.
You need to have the package installed for AR Foundations, AR Subsystems, and AR Core.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I don't have to download the new version.
No.
The 202.
202 is fine. Yeah. Any of them are fine, really. We're not going to do anything too fancy today. All right. Got that. Now I need to. All right. So you need to add a AR session origin. Get rid of your. No. There you go. Yeah. It's like, is it cutting off the sides? It's still kind of rolled. And maybe someone messed with the zoom. Is that's a zoom projector, right?
I don't know.
Just try to zoom it out a little bit if you can. I don't know if it's got a zoom.
Where is that?
It's a sliding thing on the front.
Oh, I see.
No, that's focus. Okay, I guess it doesn't have a zoom. Thought it did. Wait, maybe that is a zoom and it just pulled it out of focus. Yeah, now focus with the front thing. Slide it the other way.
I'm adjusting the front lens. It's
Okay.
definitely a focus. But this is the.
Okay, so
like
it's already zoomed out all the way. Okay.
Here, I'll just.
That's a little.
Yeah, I don't know.
better.
The projector is cropping it. That's why it is. Oh, I see what it is. It's hidden. Nothing's cropped. This is the top bars and.
Yeah, I'll see if I can't fix it. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks still kind of a little out of focus. Try to focus it a little bit. Yeah, my Xcode still is not done updating. Okay. So in Unity, we have our AR session. We don't need our main camera. We need to tag our AR camera as main camera. All right. So the first thing we want to do is create a simple portal. So let's see here. So create a cube, 3D object cube, and change the size on this cube to 0.1 by 2 rather, by 0.1. And let's rename this as left wall. Left wall. That's still, all right. Does that look okay? Still looks kind of out of focus to me. But if you guys can read it, I'm fine with leaving it.
Maybe we can dim the lights a bit.
Yeah, we should dim the lights a little bit. There, stop. Yeah, just dim the lights. That's pretty good, focus-wise. No, you gotta, there you go. All right. Okay, so the left wall, now let's duplicate this. Name this one right wall. Okay, and on this first one, the left wall, change its X position to negative 0.5. And on the right wall, change the X position to positive 0.5. Okay, oh, we need to move them up in space because they're halfway through the ground at this point. So change the Y position to 1, I believe, on both of them. Okay, so we got a left wall, we have a right wall. Now we need create another cube. Name this one transom. Transom, it's the top of a door. And its scale is going to be 1 in the X, 0.1 in the Y, and 0.1 in the Z. And the position needs to be, I believe, 1.95. So now we have a simple door here, doorway, right? Okay, let's make an empty game object and name the empty game object portal. So how are you doing? I know you had to step out of the room. You need. You got the values for the right wall?
Yeah.
Okay, great, good.
Maybe the position of
They're both, so the left and right walls are at 0, 1, 0. So that they're, and actually, rather, the left wall is at negative 0.510, and the right wall is at positive 0.510. Okay? You guys all have this door frame? Okay, so we have our portal empty game object. Let's grab the left wall, right wall, and transom and move them as child objects of the portal. Make sure your portal is set to 0. I should have done this before doing this. Now, shoot. I'm going to undo, actually. Can I undo? All right, undo until you don't have your until you don't have them as child objects. Then make sure your portal is set to the origin, reset, and then drag them in as child objects. Otherwise, you'll be fighting with weird values. There we go. Negative 0.510. And the other one's positive 0.510.
portal is a new object.
New empty game object, name portal, and then make sure you reset its position to the origin. Okay, now we need to actually put in that portal window. So add a 3D object, quad, and reset its position. Why do things keep going weird places? All right, and the quad, I believe, just needs to be 2 units tall. So in the scale x2, and then offset up 1. All right, so you got this. Yeah, and you can make the quad a child object of the portal. X 1 2 1 and with a position of 0 1 0. Make it fill up the door. Tell me when we're ready to move on. The empty game object portal you can leave at 111. What else do you need to see? Okay. So let's go ahead and create. Let's create some test objects to put behind this portal. Let's create 3D object. Just make some cubes. There's one cube. Let's make another one. Actually, let's just duplicate this one and drag it over a little bit. Drag it behind, maybe a little bit further up in Z depth. Actually, put it so that it's somewhat behind the other portal. That way we can test make sure that the Z buffering is still working.
Which side should be on? The clear side of the quad or the...
On the clear side of the quad is the side that you should be on with these cubes. And go ahead and, if you want, you can resize these cubes and make them more interesting. Oh, mine are also floating in the air. I gotta fix that. And I'm gonna do 3 cubes. And this last one, let's see, how do I want to scale this one? Maybe just a smaller cube. Why won't you let me change the Z? And just make sure these are sitting on the ground or close to it. It doesn't matter if they're not perfect. Mine are kind of floating in the air right now, so I got to fix that. I wish they'd make the ground not quite transparent so that it would be really easy to see whether you're clipping through the ground or not. Now you can have them sort of somewhat in the air. I wouldn't do too many. I'd leave it like at 3, maybe 4 if you want. Let's go ahead and create a new folder in your assets. And I'm going to call this materials. And also create a new folder and call it shaders. But let's create some materials first for these. So go in your materials folder and create material. And let's make the cubes different colors. So I'm going to call this cube 1. And I'm going to change the albedo color to something that I like. Do whatever color color floats your boat. And duplicate that and duplicate it again so that it'll automatically name them cube 2 and cube 3. And now you can go and change the colors for each cube. I'm boring, so I'm doing a red, blue, and green cube. And then you can drag your materials onto your cubes to color them. All right, now we haven't done anything with shaders yet, so our door is completely opaque. We don't see anything, and we do see the cubes on the other side of the door, so we need to fix that. So let's see, what do I do? Let me check my notes. Okay, so yeah, we're making a custom shader. We are going to start with, so go into your shaders directory, or folder that you made, and say create shader, unlit shader. Unlit means that it's unlit.
Thank you.
What do you think it means?
I don't know. Is that like...
What does unlit mean?
It doesn't get light?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It does not react to lighting. Okay? So you'll see when we apply this shader, all this like shading on the top will go away. They'll be like completely green, completely blue. There'll be no shadows. We're gonna then change it later. The next step after that is to update a regular standard shader with this code. But we're gonna start with the unlit shader because it's simpler. Now, before you click off of the shader, rename it Portal Window. Portal Window shader. Okay? Just Portal Window. Now, double click that and sure, whatever. Open it in your Visual Studio. So yeah, this is the shader lab code, which is not necessarily the same as shader programming in other programs, but Unity has its own shader programming language called Shader Lab, which is really easy to learn because it's really similar to what you've already done. There's a lot of stuff here, a lot of things happening. We're not going to go over everything, but I'll try to go over some of the things, that at least the things that I understand. And so the first thing, let's go ahead and actually, we don't need hardly any of this. We're going to get rid of completely this properties method. So the properties, the open and close bracket for that goes away. Get rid of everything between the braces or brackets for this subshader. So all the way down to end CG, get rid of that. Whoops, I still have an extra brace. There we go. So you have just a very nothing going on.
Wait, so literally get rid of
Oh wait, I screwed up. There's a pass that needs to be in there. Just start undoing. Let's see, where is it? Okay, sorry. Get rid of tags and load 100. Then get everything inside of the pass function. So that goes down to the end CG. There we go. So it looks like that. So we have shader, subshader, and pass, all with empty functions. Yeah, so I said delete that whole properties.
Open, right?
Yeah, there's no code in this, but we are going to need things in each one of these things.
Name, text, texture, 2D equals white.
What? No. Look, make it look like this. Okay? We're going to put this in right now this is being filed under unlit/portal window, which we're going to create our own directory system so that we can find all of the shaders that we make today really easily. So let's just change this to custom portal window, and that will make it'll automatically make a folder for us and stick this shader in there. All right, has everybody got this so far? Okay, great. Now we just need to do a few things. Yes. All right, so we're going to start by adding the stencil function to this.
What's a stencil function?
That was what I explained with the
Oh yes, the ones and
with
zeros.
the ones and zeros.
Yes.
So this is how to do that. So inside of the subshader code here, add this. Put a space. Let's see. Yes, before pass. Put a space and say stencil with a capital S. Open brace. New paragraph. Tab over. Ref 1. Okay, so that means that's what it's looking for. The reference number is 1. So like I said, we wanted to show the ones, right?
Should we close the brace?
In a second. Then we have to tell it what to do with that. When it sees the reference of 1, it's going to do a pass with a capital P rather. Pass, replace. There's no semicolons in this shader language. They don't exist in shader land. New paragraph, end brace, And I don't think it matters, but in my notes I have the brace back here. So we might as well do that. Okay? So what this would do is it will look for the reference of 1, when the stencil reference of 1, and if it sees it, it will replace the texture with that. But there's a problem. If we were to just save this and put it in our material, we still have Z buffering and we still have colors that are passed through. So the white color of that portal window would still be occluding everything, and just the fact that there's a portal window here and it has a Z buffer that's closer to the camera is going to make everything behind it not render. So we have to turn off both of those functions. So under subshader, before the stencil, we are going to say Z right off, color mask 0. And we're also going to, because we want to be able to see this both directions, when you're on the other side of the portal, I mean, this, I could probably not put this part in here and it would work fine for this week, but next week we're gonna want to see the other side of the portal. And there's back face culling by default. We want to turn that off. So put in cull off. Okay.
Other shader languages are like.
No, like I said before, this is Shader Lab, so it's a little bit more simple than other shader languages. But to tell you the truth, this is the first time I've ever programmed shaders, so I wouldn't really be able to tell you.
Actual shader languages.
Yeah. All right. So save that. And am I zoomed in? There we go. I am. And go back into Unity and make sure you don't have any errors in your console. If you did, you have a typo somewhere. Does anybody have an error? Okay, great. So then we need to make a material for the door. So create a material in your materials folder and call this material portal window. Okay, and then set the shader for portal window to custom portal window. And see how that ball just disappears. And that's what we want. Now go ahead and drag that custom portal window. Custom portal window. Got that? Drag it onto your portal window object and it disappears. Okay, so it is drawing, it's not doing much other than just being transparent at this point, because we have to create the other half of this, which is the custom shaders for the objects for that stencil test to actually test against. Because if it doesn't see a stencil reference on the objects, it's just going to pass it through, right? Which is what we want, because we may want some objects to not be affected by this window, like the walls and the transom. We always want that to be drawn irregardless of the stencil, right? Okay, so we now need to create a new shader for the filter for these objects. So go back into your shaders, create shader, unlit shader we'll start with, I believe. Yeah. And call this one Stencil Filter. Okay, and now open that one. And this time, and we're gonna carve and we're gonna empty this out like a jack-o'-lantern like we did before, but this time we're leaving the properties in there. So cut out the texture reference and properties, cut off tags and load 100, I don't know what that load 100 means. And then cut out everything inside of pass down to end CG, like that.
Can we change this to custom too?
Yeah, good call. Change up here to custom stencil filter. All right, so here we go. First, we want to be able to, we need to put a color reference in here so that you can actually change the color of things so that we can still have that red, green, and blue. So the function there is called color, but we need to make a reference to it just like we would in C#. So we're going to make this member variable called underscore color with a capital C and open parenthesis, quote, color. That's what will be displayed in the,
So I can zoom out it.
yes,
Thank you.
yeah. The thing between the quotes is what will be displayed in the inspector, then comma, then the actual function, which is called color, and that's why it turns green, close parentheses, equals 1, 1, 1, 1. That's just a default value, which is, what do you think that color is?
Black.
White. Good call. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 1 in the red, 1 in the blue, 1 in the green, and 1 in the alpha. Okay. Now we're going to actually do set our number for the stencil test. And actually, I want to show you before we do this so that there's some context about what we're doing here. So if you search for, not CalArts, Unity stencil compare, I believe is the function that we're going to be using. And you click on, you go to this Shader Lab Stencil Unity manual. And am I in? No, I'm not. If you go into the scripting API for this, why is it taking so long? Okay. Oh, great. And now it lost where I was, so I'm looking for stencil, not stencil, stencil. I think it's like halfway down in this list. Stencil replace, I think it's stencil compare. Stencil set compare function. Compare function. So we're going to put this in when we wrote that ref 1. Did we write that yet, or was that different? Is that later? Yeah, no, we haven't read it yet. We're going to put in, we haven't wrote it yet, but we're going to put in a thing called comp, which I thought originally was composite, but it actually means compare. And it uses this compare function. And it has these different modes. Disabled, which is by default, never, less, equal, greater, not equal, greater than equal, and always. The two that we're going to use are equal and not equal. And they're in the shade, because we're going to say this, compare the stencil to this value. Is it equal to 1 or is it not equal to 1, right? The way that you reference these functions is by their index number. So equal is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. Not equal is going to be 4, 5, 6. So it's either going to be 3 or 6. So that's what this next section of code is about and why it's those values. So back into the code. So we're going to put a open square bracket, enum, which is enumerate, open parentheses, equal, which is what it's going to print out, I believe. So the word equal is going to be set to 3, comma, not equal is going to be set to 6. Close parentheses, close square bracket. Then we need to put our reference of Stencil Test. We put this reference because when we go through the portal later, we're going to be looking for this particular word, Stencil Test, and set that. Also, we want to display it in the inspector as Stencil Test. So make sure you put that in quotes, comma. This is going to be an integer value, and the default is going to be 6. Whoops, no semicolons. Bad. All right.
You tell yourself.
All right, that's part of it. Now we need to actually, in our subshader, so we've set up these properties of color, we've set up the property of the stencil test. Now we need to actually, in our subshader, apply those properties that we've just set up. So color is going to, and there's no, in this, we used equals up here, but down here, this is just a syntactical thing about Shader Lab. They don't use equals when you're actually setting things. So color space open bracket is set to underscore color. Come on, where's the O? There it is. Close bracket. Then we are going to run the stencil function. Stencil open brace, tab over, ref 1, comp, which is compare function, whoops, square brace, underscore stencil test. So it's the comp. The compare is going to get set to whatever value we put in this variable in the setup, which will be populated to the inspector window so we can change it, right? And then, oh, we forgot our closed brace. Okay, and I think there doesn't need to be anything in pass, so save this. So everybody got this? Somebody need to look at this still? I think so. I had an issue earlier that I couldn't explain, and so I went back to this and then it worked, but it didn't. I didn't have enough time to do a good scientific study to figure out if that's really what the problem was or something else. But I'm just doing it the way that I know worked, so to save possible things, because I got waylaid by the frickin' update to Xcode. Yeah. So I would just leave it this way for now. I think you're right though. I think you can probably put this down here and probably put this back on the same line, but I'm going to leave it like this. All right, so save. All right, you try it. And we got that now. And so now we need to apply this stencil filter to what? Now the door already has something.
Wait, so everything behind the door.
Yeah, and how do we do that? Where would we do it? No, you can't drag a shader onto an object. It won't let you. What? Yeah, but that wasn't a shader. What was that?
Oh my god, it was a material. Sorry.
Exactly. So you have to change the materials. So in each of these materials, there's a shader here. Standard. Change that to custom stencil filter. Custom stencil filter. Where is it? Custom stencil filter. Oh my God. Really? Let me see. I don't believe it. Actually, I kind of do believe it. Yeah, but have you done it yet? Maybe don't worry about that until it actually causes a problem. Oh.
Yeah, mine's not showing.
But you have a new computer.
Wait, I'm having the same problem where my shader's not showing up either.
So
Oh, I don't know.
I feel like maybe you. All right. You have other problems though. No, you have problems because you got some other problems going on. So go back to your main view, and you had console errors. So it's probably that you have a typo. It's not that the thing isn't supported. No, it's not going to show up there. It's going to show up in your. Did you clear your errors?
Well, when I took it away.
No. Do you want help?
I mean, kind of, because it's not working.
What are your problems?
I don't think I have any, at least I don't see any of my console. So.
All right, no, but you can still see those. You haven't changed those yet. So do you have anything in your custom? No, you only have a portal window. So there's something wrong in your stencil filter shader. Go into that, open that shader.
I don't have it either, but I also don't have it finished.
Fair enough.
Could you go to your
Portal
first
window
shaders?
Let me open the code for the stencil filter.
Yeah, it's portal window.
Portal window is the material from the quad.
Portal window.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, hold on.
Oops, I have it.
So go open your code. All right, so let me see if you got something wrong. The color, let's see, color, let's see, equals 111. Oh, no, that's right. Num equal 3, not equal 6. See, what did you do? You changed something, right? See, you had a typo, exactly. Stencil test.
Yeah,
They have a period there instead of a comma. So if you have a typo, it's going to give you problems, and it's going to think that your shader doesn't work because it doesn't have the same sort of error handling in the shader language. It doesn't have as robust of an error handling, so it can't really tell you what's wrong. It just throws up its hands and says, "This doesn't work on this computer."
I'm still not seeing it, but
So yours still isn't showing up, huh?
Yeah.
Then yeah, you have something wrong. Now hold on, I'll look at
wait,
it.
I think I just fixed
It was probably you had it, it just wasn't showing you where you thought it was in your list. No? All right. Do you have errors? I don't see your console window. Okay. So go back into your
You click on the material.
put them in the material.
Change it to.
So color stencil, ref 1, comp,
Yeah, it's stencil.
stencil test, close brace, space pass, nothing in pass. Close braces, that's right. All right. Enum equal 3, not equal 6. Yeah, comma, space, equals 6. Yeah, but I think you have it. I think it's just not going where you said. Custom stencil.
I had it as unlit before, and I just
Right.
changed it. So if I say it again,
Yeah.
we shall see.
There it is.
Just have to say it again.
Yeah, you just have to save. All right. So does everybody have it at this point?
Yeah.
Yours isn't working? But your code works, right? Oh, you have errors. What's in your error? Show your console. So error in stencil filter. You have a expected open brace, and you have a instead of a curly brace, you have a open parenthesis somewhere. That looks awesome. That looks so good. All right. Where do you have an open? It said it was on line 6. That looks right. Save that again. And yours isn't showing up in your list of shaders, right? So parse error, expected open brace, and you have unexpected. You have a curly brace where it's expecting a open parenthesis. At least that's what it's saying. Oh, comp stencil test. That's something weird. That needs to be a square brace, a square bracket. Save it. And is your error? Do you still have errors? Maybe not. Try to see if it's there now. Nope, you still have an error. So go back into the code. You've still got an error somewhere. All right, so let's go through this one thing at a time. You have it in a custom stencil filter. Yes. Properties underscore color 1111. Yep, that's right. Enum equal 3, not equal 6. Stencil test, comma int equals 6. Subshader color underscore color stencil open bracket ref1 comp stencil test. Do you have an extra space after comp? This comp. It looks like you might have 2 spaces there. No, you don't. Save it again. Against S. And go back into this and clear. Do you still have errors? I don't see errors now. Maybe you didn't. No, you did. Clear those errors and see if they come back. Well, you gotta click the clear button. There we go. There we go. And did you? Where did it go? All right, help her out.
I got mine to work. I can help you.
So okay, so now, yeah, you still have an error somewhere in yours. Okay, so now we have the opposite effect that we're going for, but it's definitely working, right? The portal is set to not equal, and it needs to actually set to equal. So go to each one of these spheres, and each one of the materials that are on your cubes, and the stencil test, set that from not equal to equal.
Oh, cute. So cool.
Yeah? Yeah.
I want to change my whole AR cover. This is cool.
Right? Isn't that awesome?
So cool. Dear Peter.
But to prove that they're still there, like, you can click on them and you can see them outlined even if they're invisible, right? They're just not being rendered. Each one of these has a stencil reference. Each one of these objects in the code has a stencil reference of 1 right here. And in the portal window shader, it is looking for a reference of 1 and will replace the texture with replace the texture on the portal window with anything passing through it that has a reference of 1. Okay? Cool. So that's cool, but they're very flat right now, right? They're very unlit. Right? So let's get lit. You knew that was coming. All right, so what we need to do is actually edit the shader, the standard shader that we use in Unity, the standard shader. But you can't do that because it's built into Unity and they don't give you access to it. And yet, did we figure it out? All right, great. And yet they do give you access to a copy of it online. So you can download the shaders, on the built-in shaders from a repository online and then just make a copy and stick it in your project. So go to Unity 3D. If you start to type this in, mine kept popping up, but maybe that's because I went to it once. But Unity, if you probably just search for Unity download archive. Go to Unity download archive. What was it? I looked really closely. I couldn't see what it was on hers.
It was curly bracket instead of a parentheses.
That's what it said it was, but I couldn't see where it was.
It was at the top, color.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So go to the Unity download archive. And in this, they have all of the different versions of Unity. You want to go to the current Unity version that you're using. So mine is 2019 2.9. Yours might be something else. So go to 2.11, and then over here on Downloads Mac, unless you're using a PC, which none of us are, go to Built-in Shaders and download that, the zip file. So just type in Unity download archive into your search bar, and you'll find it right away. And then go to the version that you're using. Not the Unity installer. The version that you're using, and then go to Downloads Mac and click on built-in shaders, not the Unity installers. The built-in shaders. Okay? Once you get those shaders, show them in Finder, double click, or single click, unzip it, and open that up, and we're going to search inside this directory for the shader we want. There's a million shaders in here for different things, and we don't want to deal with all of them. But search for, what is it, standard. Just search for standard, and then if you, up here on your Finder, I think by default it goes to this Mac, click on next to that where it says built-in shaders. That way it's only searching this repository for things, and then find the standard.shader. There's a lot of other things that have the word standard in it, but just get the one that's there's the plain old standard.shader, okay? Highlight that in your Finder, go into Unity, bring your Finder back up. Maybe you have to go out of full screen like I do, and drag it into your shaders folder. What? So search, make sure after you start searching that you click on that you're searching in built-in shaders. Okay? Now we have a copy of the standard shader here in our custom shaders, and we can edit that standard shader. And what we're about to do, you can basically do, I've done about 10 different shaders at this point because I was editing a really complex free asset from the asset store that had several different shaders, and they all worked this way. So like what we're about to do is we're just going to add some of those lines of code that we put in those really simple shaders. We're going to add them into this complex shader, and so far it seems to work just the same way, and it's great. So that way if you download a really complex scene and it has a bunch of different materials with a bunch of different shaders in it, you just have to, on every single one of those shaders, make a stencil version of that shader, right? So So now open your standards. Actually, oh, well, if you opened it, that's all right. Close it. Go back into Unity, and let's rename this. Yeah, call it Standard Stencil Filter. Actually, make it all one word, just camel caps. Standard Stencil Filter. There we go. And yeah, I didn't do anything. All right, so go into your Standard Stencil Filter shader that you've created now, and up here it's probably just says shader standard. Make this custom / standard. This you can put spaces in and it doesn't care. Stencil space filter. That way it'll put it in the directory with all of our other stencil filter stuff. And we want to add in that enum code from our stencil filter. So grab the enum code from your stencil filter.shader, and you want to paste it at the bottom of properties, probably just right after this enum here. Probably doesn't really matter where you put it in properties, but I think it's best to put it here, and that's what I've done so far. Okay? You guys all with me? I'll give you another minute.
Here, let's find out where it is.
What does 3 and 6 mean? 3 means equal, 6 means not equal. It's here under the scripting API for the compare function. So 0, 1, 2, 3 equal. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is not equal. That's why. It's how you select those compare functions. Yeah. I would go even more into depth about shader programming, but this is all you really need to get this effect to work, is this simple code that we've done so far. And you can paste it in pretty much any shader, and it'll make it work as a stencil.
Do you have a recommendation for like a tutorial on shaders at all?
I haven't found one. I have a really good tutorial that this lesson is based on. This Australian guy it's like a 10-part tutorial where he has you build this like augmented reality park with a portal, and you step into the park and stuff. It's really weird though. One of his videos, he's just randomly without a shirt. He just all of a sudden, he doesn't say anything about it. He's just like shirtless. Oh, because he's doing his whole thing like with green screen, so it's his body in the corner with the code behind him. And in one shot, he's just got no shirt on. And I'm like,
He's like for the fans.
weird. All right. So we got that enum in there, and now we need to add the stencil function into the subshader. So this stencil function, we don't need to do the color thing because this already has color controls in it, the standard shader. So grab this stencil function from your stencil filter.
Do you in bracket?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just giving Shar a second.
By the way, I just changed it to the more
Better looking?
looking.
Yeah, and it works?
Styling, yeah.
Okay, good. Good. I don't know why. You know what it was is I was sending a Unity package from one computer to another computer, and then it was all funky when I imported it. And I'm wondering what happened there. All right. So do you have you got your enum in there? Okay, so then go back into your other stencil filter shader and grab this stencil function. And then go back into your standard stencil filter, and you want to paste that in your subshader. I do it right after the LOD 300.
We don't call
No, you don't need the color. No, yeah, because this standard shader already has color control functions in it. So did you grab this, Shar? And you paste it in here. Now, but you'll notice if you scroll down, there's more than one subshader. So you have to paste it in both subshaders. Whoops. The reason why there's more than one subshader is it will load if you have a different graphics card that doesn't like the first method, it will load the second method. If it doesn't like that method, then it will load a third method if there is. Some shaders have several subshader methods. This one only has 2, I believe. Yeah, so that should be all you need. So save it. Go back into Unity. Now let's update our materials. So material, now instead of custom stencil filter, go to custom standard stencil filter. Custom standard stencil filter and custom standard stencil filter. But I still have an issue, and I had this issue before, and now I still have it. I mean, it works, but the stencil test field went away. Do you guys have a stencil test field on this standard? And I don't know why that is, because you should still have that. And if I go back to standard or custom stencil filter, I have this stencil test equal not equal. You should still have that. In the new version, you should still have that field in there. And you don't. And I'm wondering if that's a problem.
But I only can see the squares.
Yeah, no, they work,
Yeah.
but you won't be able to change it to the other way around, and you need to be able to change it to the other way around when we step through the portal. So, what is wrong with this? Let me think. Let me look. Let's see. Because it would be under that enum. It'd be under that enum. That should make this show up. Under properties, this enum. Now it should show up right below that. Let's try taking out the space before this, if you have one. I don't know.
Can we just move it up to like the top maybe?
Sure, let's try it.
The top of the whole.
Properties. Whoops. So before color, try that. Save.
Just red above color.
Yeah. No, I don't have it still. So that's
There are some
a thing.
See where it's commented blending state, and then it has says hide and expected.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be interfering with something?
Maybe. Let's see. Where is that? Oh, blending. Yeah, but that no, because those are just applied to those. Oh. Why? What am I doing wrong? Well, we can just leave it for now, and I'll come back next week and try to figure out what went wrong. Because at least what we're doing this week should work with this, because we're not going to have it swap around. And it probably will work anyway, but you should be able to set it in the inspector, and I just don't understand why you're not able to. because this worked in my prep project. Let me open that really quick and maybe I can compare the two. So AR Portal Prep. So I can show you kind of what I was doing. I did a much more complicated version of this to learn it. And let's see here. So it's kind of this sci-fi thing, right? And this is where I had that problem with lighting because as soon as you step through, it was really bright like this, and then as soon as you step through, it got dark. And basically, I fixed that just by getting rid of the main directional light and just having it be really dark. And then like the outside ground, instead of it being lit by a real-time light, I just made it an unlit surface that's always bright, like it's day outside. Yeah. So this is what we'll have next week. We'll be able to step through. Whoops. Oh, I guess I have to be in play mode. So this is what it looks like, and then you'll be able to step through. Ooh, is it not working now? There we go. There we go. You'll be able to step through and turn around, and there we go. And look, so there right now it is triggered by a collider that's attached to the camera, and that collider actually has to be in contact with the thing. So if I back up, it just goes completely inside. I'm going to change that so that it's a toggled state. But basically, where you see the skybox will be replaced by your AR camera. But other than that, you can see the world around you when you're inside, and then when you go outside, it's like that. But what I wanted to show you was that this is the way that those shaders are supposed to work. So I have the let's see. Let me grab an object here. So where's something here? That we can see. I want something close. That's the floor. All right, that chair, for example. So in here for this chair is a material that's using this custom standard stencil filter on the base color material. And if you go to the materials, base color, standard stencil filter, custom standard stencil filter, and if you scroll down to the very bottom, you still have this stencil test here, right? And you can change that from equal to not equal. Right? I don't know why that's not showing up on ours. It should be. It should be right under that UV0 thing. So we have UV0, there should be that stencil test under here, and it's not. I don't know why. And it should say Stencil Test. And if I check the shader for this, let me look at the shader. Maybe we can this is using the standard stencil shader, which is standard stencil filter. All right, so maybe we can figure out what is different here. So custom standards stencil filter, this enum stencil test, that's all the same as what you got, right? It doesn't make sense. Is there did we miss an opening bracket or something? And then stencil ref1 comps underscore stencil test. That's all the same, right? I don't understand why this works here and doesn't work there. Okay, whatever. I'll fix it. I'll figure that out by next week, hopefully. But for now, it is kind of working the way we want, and we're not going to do that portal move through the portal thing yet. So let's just continue on building a simple AR application based on this. So I should just, to save time, I'm going to upload a Unity package to the class website to get you guys going, so we don't have to rebuild the whole like placement indicator and the drag and drop script and all that stuff. What week are we on? 9? 10? Okay. Let me edit this. Yeah, next week was supposed to be the first week of tell me what you want me to teach you, but instead it's going to be week 2 of AR of portals, and then we have one more week where it'll be whatever you guys want to, or we'll just have it as a lab week. All right, so let me create, I think I already made one actually. Let me upload this to the Google Drive. I could try uploading the shader from the one that works, and we could try downloading that shader and see if that works as well. So let me make a folder. AR portal. And I want to share this. Sorry I didn't have this done beforehand. I got waylaid. Settings. Actually, drive. Where am I? There it is. Share. Advanced. Change. Anyone with link. Save. Done. Okay, so let me put, I have somewhere, I think I put it on my desktop. Yes, this Unity package. And I can try to just, let's get this shader that works. Standard stencil, reveal in Finder. And I'll try, we can try just replacing what we coded with this one, and maybe it'll work. Okay, and now let me add a, just embed actually, so copy link, embed, insert, publish. All right, should be able to get it on week 10 now. And download both that standard stencil filter and the Unity package. And yeah, so go ahead and let's start with the shader. So go into your Unity project. Whoops, not that one. That one. And go to your shaders and then drag in that shader that you just downloaded. Standard stencil filter. So mine ended up renaming it a standard stencil filter space 1. And let's try changing the materials here to that. So custom Oh, now they're both named the same thing. Now it works. I changed it over and now I have that. So there's definitely some difference between those two. I don't know what it is yet, but I will endeavor to figure that out. Yeah, I unchecked one of them, and if you uncheck the right one, I don't know which one it'll be. You should be able to add. You should be able to see this stencil test in your underneath the UV set for secondary textures.
But
Yeah.
It's not safer delete one.
Yeah, you could delete one if you wanted to. Yeah, you could delete your old one and replace it with the new one too.
And is only the standard stencil filter the one?
No, yes, that's the only one you need. Okay, so custom. Mine, I believe I unchecked the first standard stencil filter in the list, and then it works the way it's supposed to then. Now I have that stencil test. I still don't know what's different between those, but there must be something. All right, cool. That works. Go ahead and let's import the asset. Let me close this before I get confused. You won't see anything different because it was still kind of working, but we wanted to be able to see if you're on the material that has that if you change the shader to what we just downloaded, underneath UV set for secondary textures, you should see Stencil Test. Yeah. Underneath UV set for secondary textures, you should see Stencil Test if you've updated it with the new shader. Great. Okay, now import the package. So go to Import, Package, Custom Package, and import that package that you just downloaded. Okay, and say import, and this will add the, the placement indicator thing, all that. Actually, I believe I didn't do the placement indicator version. I did the version that we did on the Darkness Monster that has the plane detection filter. Okay, so then what you need to do is under AR session origin, you need to add this script, the place drag drop script. Okay, we need to create this portal and all the cubes. Put the cubes all as child objects of your portal, and we're going to create a prefab out of this. Right, so your portal, the portal window, and all the cubes all need to be child objects of this portal.
Where did you put the script on? Sorry?
You place, drag, drop. You add that to this AR session origin script or object. Once you got your portal, all of the objects here as childs of the portal empty game object, drag the portal empty game object into your prefabs folder, and it should turn blue, right? Then you can delete it. It's still there because it's a prefab. I mean, you can always put it back. And under your AR session origin now, let's see, you got a plane manager. Yes. Okay. Change detection mode to horizontal. So you uncheck the vertical so that it'll go to horizontal. The plane prefab. Click on AR plane visualizer or drag AR plane visualizer in there. And then on the place drag drop script, you can drag your portal prefab as the placed prefab, and you just need to fill in your AR camera in here so that it knows which one is the camera. Right? And you should be able to build now, and it should work.
Can you put the placement object script in the prefab?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you. Don't build yet. Go into your prefabs, portal, and probably you need to attach the placement object onto something that has a something that has a collider. So I'd say let's add it to the actual window because that's probably what you're going to tap on.
The quad.
The quad, yeah. So on the quad, drag the placement object script into the quad. Otherwise, you won't be able to drag it. Yeah, I think that's all we need. Let me just check this AR plane visualizer has the material in it. Plane detection element, yes. Okay, this should work. So let's build. Is my update done? Yes, finally. Okay. So go ahead and try to build it.
Settings.
What?
Player settings.
Player, well, just yeah, you should have your standard player settings for AR. Do you remember those? We've only done them 10 times. All right, build settings. I need to switch over platforms to iOS. And go to player settings. And I believe it is, you have to click on where to go? It requires ARKit support. Change the target minimum iOS version to 11. And change the architecture from Universal to ARM64. I believe that's all you need. And yeah. So then go to build, make a new folder, builds, iOS. Oh my God. It requires additional components now.
You have to install iTunes to make.
No, you have to quit iTunes.
Oh. Let's say what are you doing? But that's the sense that you can configure that.
Yeah, you have to put the place drag drop script in your AR session origin, and you need to put the placement object on your quad inside of the prefab for your portal. Yeah. All right. So did mine finish building yet? I can't even tell. I just got beach balls. Unity, what? Why are you bouncing? There you go. Is it gonna work this time? Alright, click on that, go to signing, go to my team. Make sure my iPad is awake. Turn on the lights and upload. When I did this earlier, it built the whole thing, and then it goes to actually run it on your thing, and then says, oh no, you need to update Xcode. I'm like, you couldn't have told me this before you did 217 tasks and me waiting for it to build. So if anybody gets theirs running before me, A, you win. B,
Yeah.
you'll notice that if you walk through the portal, everything will disappear. So you can't actually walk through the portal yet. That's for next week. Are you not getting it to detect the? Oh, you got a portal. Oh, you just need to put it. You can drag your portal. You should be able to drag it somewhere further away. Yeah, make a bigger plane next time. Or you could change the size of your portal to be smaller so that you don't have to be so far away from it. But then you'd have to go back and build again to do that. So yeah, try to place your portal as far away from you as possible because it is 2 meters high, right?
Yeah.
So, does it work? Great, good. Mine is not locked. Mine says development cannot be enabled while your device is locked. What are you talking about? Well, I still have Xcode issues apparently. I can show you what I have. I can build it for Android, but I can't screen share it. No, because I haven't been able to get it to upload yet because I keep having Xcode issues like this. So what does that mean? Please unlock your, I did unlock my iPad. My iPad is unlocked. Yeah, let's see what it says. It says it's running and says it can't be enabled while your device is locked. So mine is an Xcode issue. Shouldn't have updated. I should not have updated. Yeah, it's time now. Did you get yours to work? So you didn't even try? All right. Yeah. So this works for everybody who doesn't have a broken Xcode. So I have a broken Xcode, so I can't show you. But it does work because we had 2 people get it to work, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll have my Xcode fixed by next week. I'll try to figure out why that shader was giving us issues. They looked pretty identical to me, but I don't know. I have no idea what the problem was, to tell you the truth. Maybe I need to reboot my iPad. I don't know. All right. That's it, guys. See you next week. Wish I could add this to the video, but I